It's about that time. The playoffs are finally here, and today we're going to be making a video that has the potential to age pretty badly, but we're going to be predicting the entire 2025 NFL playoff bracket and see, in my opinion, who's going to win the Super Bowl. Let me know in the comment section below who your pick is to win the Super Bowl and if it matches up with my pick. But let's go ahead and get right into this, starting in the wildcard round. I made a YouTube short a few days ago going over my wildcard picks, but I guess I'll explain my picks more in this video because there's more time to do that. Let's start in the AFC. Bills at home against the Broncos. This one, it's not too difficult for me. I got the Bills. Bo Nix, if he's able to put together a consistent game for 4 quarters, you never know what could happen. And that mixed with a couple mistakes from the Bills offensively, and the game might flip just like that. You never know when it's the NFL. It's just one game. Anything could happen, but I think the Bills are just a better football team, especially offensively, with arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. So it's hard to pick against them, especially when they have a better team than the Broncos. Moving on to Ravens versus Steelers. I got the Ravens at home in this one. The Steelers have lost 4 straight to end the regular season, and going up against the potential MVP, probably going to win the MVP, Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to continue playing like an MVP against the Steelers defense that's been struggling against really, really good offenses. So I think the Ravens go ahead and win this one. Another struggling team in the playoffs, the Texans. This time they're at home, but I still got the Chargers on the road. If you see a common theme here in the AFC, I've picked all the favorites pretty much to win. That might change in the NFC though, we'll see. But yeah, I got the Chargers over the Texans. I think they're just a more complete football team, playing better football right now at this point. I think the Texans still have potential on both sides of the ball to make enough plays to hang with the Chargers, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop the rushing attack, and I think the Chargers take this one. Let's go ahead and move on to the NFC now. In my opinion, this game right here, Eagles-Packers, is the most obvious one. In the NFC, I got the Eagles at home. A lot of people are saying the Packers are a dark horse to make a deep playoff run. I personally don't see it that way. The receiving core is young. I think they're decent, but I don't think they're good enough to win in this one, especially against a solid Eagles secondary. And then with one of the best front sevens in the league for the Eagles, it's going to be hard for the Packers to get that run game going, which is really what they depend on with Josh Jacobs. And on the other side of things, the Eagles are definitely going to be able to get that run established with Saquon Barkley, of course. And coming off a week of rest, I think they're going to be able to handle business in this one, taking care of the Packers. Moving on, this is where things get really interesting. I think these last 2 playoff games are really 50-50. I mean, either of them could go in either direction. Bucs versus Commanders, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Buccaneers. I think first of all, this has nothing to do with Jaden Daniels' lack of experience. I said that when I was talking about it in my YouTube short, but it really doesn't have anything to do with that. I just think this Bucs offense is really, really good. Commanders are too, but I think the Bucs are just going to be able to put it together on both sides of the ball. I think they're a more complete football team than the Commanders. A lot of the time for the Commanders, it's just Jaden Daniels go make something happen. I think the Commanders are just 1 year away from being a true Super Bowl contender, and I don't think they're going to end up winning a playoff game in this year's playoffs. But you never know with the Commanders, a young team with a lot of high hopes for this year. The sky's the limit, so that's why this game is 50-50. You never know what type of mistakes Baker Mayfield can make. He has a lot of touchdowns, he has a lot of great plays, but the interceptions and turnovers are going to come with those great plays naturally when you're a gunslinger like Baker Mayfield. So you never know, but I got the Bucs at home winning this one against a Washington team that's probably just a year away. And then here we are with the last wild card game, Rams versus Vikings. Taking the whole season as a sample size, the Vikings have been a better football team. Yes, these 2 teams played each other earlier in the year, and the Rams ended up taking the W, but I think the Vikings are a different football team now, and I think they're more complete than the Rams. So I got them going into LA and getting a victory. Sam Darnold gets a huge playoff win in his first ever career playoff start. But that's the wild card round. Let's go ahead and move on to the divisional round. This is where things get really interesting. With that being said, though, I still have the Chiefs at home over the Chargers. At the end of the day, it's hard to pick against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I think the only teams that can beat the Chiefs in the playoffs are these 2 teams right here, and I just don't think the Chargers are there quite yet. But you never know next year if they're able to make the right moves. I think they'll be right back in the spot with a much better chance to beat the Chiefs. But with home field advantage, I got the Chiefs. And this one, man, in the AFC might be the most interesting matchup of the playoffs. this one should be a game to remember. I mean, I think the Ravens are a more complete football team with a quarterback to match up with the Bills, but playoff Josh Allen is different. I got the Bills winning this one at home. That's also a big factor. I think if this game was in Baltimore, I would have to go with the Ravens, but Bills Mafia is going to show out to this one, and I think the Bills, with the support of their home crowd, are going to take the win. This Ravens pass defense still is not one of the better ones in the league, and I think the Bills are going to be able to tear that apart. And with Josh Allen, it's really hard to pick against them in the playoffs. But let's go ahead and move on to the NFC, Philly versus Tampa Bay. I think things get really interesting here, man. I think the Bucs, with their offense, it's one of the most underrated offenses in the league. I think they could go into Philly and get the win. I just don't see it happening. I got the Eagles taking the victory here at home over the Buccaneers. Once again, they're just a more complete football team. Jalen Hurts is able to make the right plays at the right time. Doesn't turn the ball over too much. And of course, better rushing attack with Saquon Barkley. So I think the Eagles have an offense that can match up with the Bucs with a better defense. So I have the Eagles winning in that one. If this game was in Tampa Bay, I would probably pick differently, similar to the Ravens-Bills game. Home field advantage matters in the playoffs to me, and I think the Eagles are going to take care of business here against the Bucs. And then the final game of the division round is the easiest one for me. People are saying this one could go differently if the Vikings do end up back against the Lions, but I think the Lions got this one. The whole concern with the Lions down the stretch of the season was their banged up defense, but they've been able to be resilient, next man up, and against the Vikings put on a great performance, especially down in the red zone, not giving up any touchdowns. So I got the Lions at home over the Vikings in that one. But let's go ahead and move on to the conference championships. Let's start with the NFC this time, start with the AFC the last two times. So we got the Lions at home versus the Eagles. I think this one's going to be very, very interesting. I think the Eagles are the best or second best roster in the league, and I think the Lions are also a top 3 roster in the league, even with all the injuries. The Lions might get Aiden Hutchinson back for this one. That honestly might be the difference. This Philadelphia Eagles team in the playoffs, to me, they're built to win in the playoffs with that rushing attack, their ability to push the ball downfield when necessary. Of course, not the best passing attack in the league, not as good as the Lions, but I think their defense is much better than the Lions, and if they're able to force a couple turnovers, I think that's really going to be the difference. And I got the Eagles on the road, potentially the first upset of this whole playoff run. I got the Eagles on the road, advancing to the Super Bowl. And here in the AFC, I've seen a lot of people pick this matchup in the AFC, and I got the Bills on the road. This is finally the year I think they beat the Chiefs. I think if the Chiefs have to get into a shootout with any team in the AFC, it's going to be rough for them because I just don't think their offense is explosive enough. I think the Bills' offense with Josh Allen is always going to be explosive enough, and I think this game is going to end up being a shootout, and I just don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to keep up. So I got the Bills in this one. And here we are in the Super Bowl, 2 versus 2. Josh Allen versus Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has been here before. Josh Allen has not been here before. I think the Eagles, on paper, are a better football team. The only reason the Bills even stand a chance in this is because of Josh Allen. Their defense is not as good as the Eagles. Their offense, on paper, is not as good as the Eagles. It's literally Josh Allen versus a complete Eagles football team. And at the end of the day, as much as I love Josh Allen, as much as I think he's a great quarterback in the playoffs especially, I think this is the year where the Eagles finally break through and win their second Super Bowl in the last decade. Of course, last time with Nick Foles, this time with Jalen Hurts. I think it's going to be a great game. It comes down to whether or not Josh Allen's able to put the cape on and get a win, and if the Eagles are able to force turnovers. But I think the Eagles are going to get this win here over the Bills. I think this game right here, Lions versus Eagles, determines who wins the Super Bowl. I think if the Lions win here, I have the Lions going on to win the whole thing. But if the Eagles win, I also have them going on to win the whole thing. So, not to say that the AFC teams right here, the Chiefs or the Bills, are not competitive. I think they are. I just think these two teams right here are the best two complete football teams, the best two rosters in the NFL. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. The only argument against that is the quarterbacks. Of course, Mahomes and Allen are on another level. That's the only other argument that I could see being made. So, to me, the games that could potentially flip are the Commanders here, the Rams here, and then here, the Eagles and Lions still move on. And then, to me, this game right here could for sure flip. I'm pretty confident about the AFC, though. I think this game could flip. So there's about 3 or 4 games that could potentially flip and could change entire playoff bracket. But this is the way that I see things going, and I think it's the most likely outcome, and it's just the way I see it. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment section what your playoff picture is. But that's going to do it for this one. I'm going to be making more videos after the wildcard round is over, but that's going to do it. Hope you all enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. I'll see you all in the next one.